Alright, so let me show you guys some improvements to this build. So with the update we get access to this Tempest ability, which increases our movement speed and damage and other sorts of things too as well. So let me show you guys a clear speed of this. It's very nice. You can just get up close and personal, boys. It's nice. It was definitely really fun just blowing past all the content. These spiders are kind of messing me up a little bit. And that's about it. AoE clear speed is absolutely amazing. Alright, it's time for the boss. This is a level 50 boss. I did upgrade the levels this time for this showcase. And you can basically just kite him around. Pretty nice and smooth. I love it. I love it.
No room for that.
No. Okay. So let's go into the inventory or the gear like I always do. So still the same staff that I've been using. You want fire percent, spell percent, and instead of the energy barrier you want increased area ability damage on there, and then it's nice to also have that cold and fire hybrid on there as well. But yeah, trying to get that, especially trying to get it on an infracture with this kind of base, because having that 9% chance to stun actually is really awesome too as well. And sometimes you can perma-stun bosses. Like I've perma-stunned the Harpy boss quite a lot of times. It's pretty hilarious. But also getting the area ability damage is nice too. For something else to look for instead of spell damage, you want cast speed too in there. That also works. But let's go into the armor. You want knowledge and vigor, health regen, and whatever resistances you're missing. This is also outdated. I haven't updated any of my armor, I think, besides my helmet, but we'll get to that. Shoulders, you just want some health, some increased crit chance because it helps a little bit. Or you can go with the glancing hits or something like that. That'll increase your defense if you want glancing hits. Then for the helmet, I finally got a little bit of an upgrade on my helmet. You want cast speed, energy reserved, or you want energy regen. You can get up to like 10 energy regen too. I'm trying to look for a helmet that has cast speed, energy regen, and flat energy on it is kind of what I want. But having energy minus energy reserved is pretty good too, because the more, or actually I don't know if, actually this might not benefit me, and I'll kind of explain that, because you want to reserve energy so you can get more regen, and I'll explain that in the passes pretty soon. Alright, so your boots, haven't changed this at all either. These are old boots, but you want movement speed and knowledge. Gloves, haven't changed these. You want fire percent, might, or intelligence. Glancing hits is decent as well. It's some extra defense mechanics there. For rings, you want percent spell, percent fire, and try and get energy on this. You can go crit chance if you want. We do have some options now where we can actually scale up our crit chance a little bit, and I'll kind of show you guys that in a little bit. But you want something like this where you get energy, so you get spell, fire, and energy. Really nice. And I'm not sure if the damage over time is really affecting my burn damage or not. I haven't really tested it, to be honest. But yeah, this is one of my new things that I got, is this ring right here. And then I did get a wellspring upgraded, so you can get up to plus 10 energy regen on here. You can get resistances, and you can get 71 regen, which is awesome. This really helps because we use overload a lot, so every time like I cast an ability with my magma, I get overload, and quite a bit of overload, and it really starts to ramp up. And the thing with overload is we start taking damage, and we want to mitigate as much overload damage as possible because it really starts to trickle you down. So you want resistances to counter that, and you also want stuff in your passives to counter that. So let's go into our attributes. So I went a little bit of mix of everything. I went might and knowledge, and that's so I can wear gear and stuff. As long as you're dipping into fire damage down here, you're good. I also went into a little bit of vigor because the new area, the enemies start hitting a lot harder, so I started, my last few points I started dumping into vigor so I can survive a little better. Alright, so let's go into the masteries. We'll go into core real quick. I got 2 points in celerity so we can have increased speed and cast speed. Okay, I'm back. I had to make sure I was recording. I was like, crap, am I recording? Alright, so we're going to go into Earth. We're going to talk about Roiling Magma. This is our main ability. And you want to go 3 into overload and rest into enhanced damage. So when we use overload, or when we use our ability, we get a 50% of the energy spent back, and every time we spend energy we get overload, so we get about 4 overload when we use our ability. Well, actually 5. About 4 to 5. So yes, and that is how we scale up our damage a little bit more every time we cast our ability. Pretty nice. So it's not like super like main damage dealing, but we have other stuff to help us ramp up more damage as well. Alright, so our aura, I just went with a little bit of stone skin and all in the earth enchantment, and I conserve energy because the more energy we are conserving, the more regen we're getting with, I believe, this passive right here. Yeah, this passive right here. The more you reserve, the more energy regeneration we're going to get. So you want to get that too as well, because it is really costly to use this spell. It's 121 energy, so you want as much energy regen as possible. Alright, so that's why I did that. Then we went into Flame Volley. We got Enhanced Amplify, we got Orbit, we got Amplified Damage, and Flame Volley is really nice. So when I use mana or energy, I get Flame Volley amplifications, and it actually scales up pretty well. As you can see right here, it's pretty good damage. So this is consistent, and it applies burns and all that stuff. So, and then we got Ignite. This is what we cast to debuff our enemies. So we lower their fire resistances. And then we have Ignite, where it can jump to another enemy and stuff. This is alright. It doesn't really proc as much because when Fireball explodes or Roiling Magma explodes, it pretty much kills everything anyways, but it's nice to have, at least I think. And then we got a Ring of Flame. This is pretty much our Righteous Fire. We got Permanency, Blazing Heat, Overload, Weakness Heat. And then I was fooling around with the new ability, and I just picked up this skill right here, or this modifier right here. So when we use Volcanic Eruption, and we use 80 energy, we can trigger it a couple of times. See how those little explosions are going off? So that's why I picked it up. It's an extra source of damage right there. But all in all, this, I haven't really fooled around with it too much, but it wasn't really too impressive to me. But there is some ideas that I might dip into, like especially with um, prolonging the duration and then waiting for the eruption because it scales up a little bit with that. But yeah, I'm not going to go too far into this because we're talking about this build right here. Alright, so let's talk about the passives. You want to get Grand Magic, get your maximum energy up and spell damage. And then you want to go into Arcane right here, so you can get your energy up. And you also want both of these. Then we went into Earth Attunement, so we can get fire damage. And then you want area damage right here, because our skill is considered area. And then you want some spell damage. Then we went into Overheat, energy, fire damage per overload. Combustion, this is so when our fireballs explode on an igniting enemy, we get 50% more damage with this, which is pretty nice. I started going into a little bit of defense this time around to take less damage from overload. And then I started messing around with Crematation and the new passives. So every time when we apply a burn, we have a 2% chance per burn stack to trigger Ignite. So this is actually decent. I noticed like I could just kite around the bosses and it just does pretty good consistent tick damage. It's pretty nice, especially when you have Flame Volley going up and you're kind of like trickling in your Roiling Magmas. It's nice. I like it. It feels good. Alright, so let's go into Storm. Now, I took off Calling Storm. You guys probably remember I used to have Calling Storm with Overload and Rage Gain. And that combined with this passive right here, this used to affect our rage and slow our rage from going down, but they kind of like shadow nerfed this. They didn't say anything about it in the patch, but they definitely nerfed it. So there was no point of using this anymore. So now all I do is I use my oh, I am very sorry guys. In my core I did go 1 in the barrier and it went Rage Gain. So when I use my barrier, I get a rage, and then I swap to my fell blades to get 4 permanent rage with my fell blades. I got 2 of them, so it's a minimum of 4. So that's how I still have my rage and how I generate it. But we can no longer take effect of stacking a bunch of rage anymore because this does not work anymore. But I still pick this because I get 15% less damage from overload, which is really nice. Then we have this, which I don't think works anymore because you have to cleanse your overload to actually get the 5 energy. But hey, it's whatever. You pick something. Alright, so, and then I do Storm Nimbus. We're reserving energy because when we reserve energy, we get energy regen back, and then I swap out my resistances based upon what I'm missing in my gear. And then with Tempest, this is my new favorite spell to use all the time now. I increase the duration 6 seconds, so it's a total of 12 seconds. But we get a bunch of speed, cast speed, we get damage, and I get a little bit more cast speed and movement speed in here. But you can also dip down into crit chance now. So I haven't really invested in the crit chance on this, but I might consider it later down the road. But it's still kind of early in this build. But I really like Tempest. It's very nice for getting around the map, because that is what this build was really lacking in my first iterations of this. It was movement speed, so this just feels so good. And it lasts for 12 seconds, which actually feels like forever in this game. Really nice. So yeah, definitely pick up Tempest. It's awesome. Alright, passives. Raging Mind, this is so our rage actually counts. When we get rage, we want to unlock spell rage, so our rage actually benefits us. So you want cast speed, crit chance, and you want this is for your regen. You want as much regen as you can. And for this, get speed. Homing doesn't work. I don't think penetration works either, but we want the projectile damage. But the speed is pretty nice too as well. And then you want to go into overcharge, because we're actually, I think they changed this. I don't think it used to say overload abilities, but I could be wrong. But we are getting a little bit of damage from this. But yeah, you definitely want this so you take less damage from overload. And then I believe that's it for these. I think I covered everything. Yeah. Did I talk about overheat? I think I did. Alright, and that's it for this new build. I really like this build. Super fun. Love it. It's absolutely fantastic. Alright, you guys have a fantastic day. Peace.